Thanks for tuning in. It's actually Sunday today when I'm recording this. It is Yud Kislev. This Tuesday, Monday night and Tuesday will be Yud Beis Kislev, is the yahrzeit of the Heilige Basayin. The Basayin was a Rebbe that lived, he was a Talmud from the Chernobyl Hasidim, and he lived in the mid 1700s. He went from Avrich. He was the Rebbe in Avrich, a tremendous tzaddik and Talmud Chacham, unbelievable. He unfortunately had no children. He moved to Eretz Yisrael and he settled in Tzfas and became the leader of that community over there. It's a kind of a known tradition that he had left over, that since he had no children, so he said those who will prava and celebrate and commemorate his yahrzeit and learn his Torah, and especially said to make a big suda covered his yahrzeit. So in a lot of different places all over in Eretz Yisrael, and especially in Tzfas, and even in American communities all over, they gather together this Tuesday, Monday night Tuesday, for a suda covered the yahrzeit of the Basayin. So I wanted to share vort from the Basayin. Probably by the time you'll see this will be after the yahrzeit, but it'll be on this week's parsha, so you could mention the Basayin in the week of the parsha that he was niftin parshas Vayishlach. There are tremendous stories about the Basayin. Just one story quickly. When he was in Tzfas, I think it was in 1937, Tafresh Tzadik Zayin, that there was an earthquake in Tzfas, and the whole city almost was destroyed. And it's known, and you could see it even, they say, if you go to the shul that he had, that it was mincha time, and he told the people who had gathered for mincha, quickly come and stand next to me. And they stood on his side of the shul, and the rest of the shul was destroyed except for that spot. And they could see afterwards, years later, you could see where they rebuilt the shul. You could tell this was the old part, this was the new part. Tzaddik Yesod Olam. So he says the following vort. I just want to share with you his vort, covered the yahrzeit. So he says, Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefonav el Esav achiv artza seir. So he says, this encounter between Yaakov and Esav is not just the physical encounter between the two of them, but it's symbolic to the ongoing conflict and encounters that we have between the Bechina of Yaakov, the Yetzer Tov, and Esav, which represents the Yetzer Hara. And there's this battle that takes place in our lives daily, hourly, sometimes even from minute to minute. And we're always seeking out ways how to overcome that battle, how to create harmony in our lives between the neshama and the guf, and put everything in the right perspective. So he says, take a look in this parsha. He says himself, this is al derech musar, that Yaakov and Esav is the remez of the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. And Esav is the representative of the Yetzer Hara, and he wants to narrow down what is the center of the Yetzer Hara. From where does its power emanate to draw us in and pull us off our mission and purpose? What's its center of gravity, the Yetzer Hara? So he says the center of gravity of the Yetzer Hara is that it always wants more. It's never satisfied. He calls it moisrois, that we just are attracted. The Yetzer Hara attracts us to want to have more and more. And he says, really, it comes from the midah of gaiva, of gasus haruach, is that we're so self-centered and into ourselves that we just want more and more. We're never satisfied. And I'm just looking in the Sefer, excuse me. And he said, brings from the pasuk, pen teichel, you'll eat, v'savata, and you'll get satiated. But v'ram levavecha v'shachachta, if that's what you're into, take that selfishness and just wanting to constantly always feel good and take care of yourselves only. That's, he says, is the epicenter of the Yetzer Hara. Interesting. I just like this piece very much that he said. He says But the tzaddik recognizes that physical component of this world. Yes, we need to give it kedusha, give it purpose, give it mission, but it's not the primary purpose of our existence. It's not everything. Tzaddik oichel l'soiva nafshay. The tzaddik understands the purpose and the mission of eating. It's l'soiva nafshay, that the soul should be nurtured through our eating and taking care of our physical bodies, that it acts as the proper resource for our spiritual growth and development. Then interesting, he says like this, he says, Pasuk says, Leiv chacham liyamin, v'leiv ksil l'smol. The chacham is the Yetzer Tov, leiv chacham, the heart of the chacham is on the right. This is, that battle between right and left is how he looks at it. Leiv chacham liyamin, and leiv ksil, the ksil, really, literally, it's a fool. The Yetzer Hara he's no nar, like they say, but he's foolish, really. He uses all kinds of mechanisms against us, but in the reality, it's foolish because life has no purpose and no meaning if you follow him. But, so again, the leiv chacham to the right, leiv ksil l'smol. So he says, a remez, the letters of leiv is lamed and beis. So the leiv chacham is liyamin. The chacham looks at the letters to the right of leiv. What are the two letters to the right of leiv? So it means the letters before lamed and before beis. So before beis is aleph, before lamed is chaf. So the letters to the yamin of lamed and beis is ach. Ach means only. It's a miut. It diminishes, it limits, it has a limitation. Ach, the tzaddik is ach, but the ksil is l'smol. What's on the smol? What's to the left of the letters lamed and beis? Beyond lamed, the next letter after lamed is mem. The next letter after beis is gimel. That spells gam. Gam means more, also. So it's the remez leiv chacham liyamin, leiv ksil l'smol. Anyways, back to the remez here in the pasuk from the Heilige Basayin. So vayishlach Yaakov malachim. Yaakov is about to go into Eretz Yisrael now, to come back in to Eretz Yisrael, and he understands the challenges when you go into a land of kedusha. So that's where the Yetzer Hara is going to put up his big battle to try to pull you away from the potential spiritual growth and development that one can have, and Yaakov was about to experience, and that we experience Baruch Hashem on a daily basis, but Befrat coming into Eretz Yisrael. And Yaakov was worried about that. So Vayishlach Yaakov malachim el Esav achiv. Yaakov was looking for malachim, looking for ideas and concepts. A malach is a mission. What is the mission? To go to battle against Esav achiv, against the Yetzer Hara. So he says, it's Arza Seir. That arza, the artzius, the physical, eretz represents the physical component of our lives, seir, from the lashon shir, should have a shir, it should have a limit. Yes, it's important. It's a critical component of our lives. But it's not just, hey, whatever you want, more, just take it all in. And instant gratification and no end in sight to it. Gam. Zok the Basaya, no. Yaakov understood. Arza, in artzius, seir, shiur, there has to be a limit to it. A limit also means, by the way, that you give it purpose and you give it mission. If something has no purpose or no mission, so it's as much as you want. Keep on feeling good, feel good. If that's what it's all about, so it's until I feel good. But if we understand the greatness, the godless of the gashmis, of the physical component of our lives, its greatness is as a resource in our avodas Hashem, and that's its purpose and its mission. Then just like every mitzvah has a shir, then the gashmis is a mitzvah and it also has a shir. So the Vayishlach Yaakov malachim, the battle with Esav achiv, is to come to recognize Arza, the artzius seir, has a shir. A remez from the Heilige Basayin, Schusa Yagan Aleinu, his yahrzeit is Yud Beis Kislev, and he was maftiach that those who will celebrate and commemorate his yahrzeit with his Torah and with his Suda will be Zaycha to children. He'll be an advocate on their behalfs, to Banim Chayim Zayni, Shidduchim, Refuis, and Yeshuas. Thank you for listening.